For those watching the replay, go ahead and skip this countdown. For all those logged in right now, say hi in chat. Say hi in the chat. Skylar, what's up, my man? Alexandre, Shar, welcome. We got a lot of early birds, Robbie.
I like it.
Nice.
time to get it started, no delay, let's work. Wanna see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera, steady dropping knowledge, over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO video show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre De Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos I released within the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is Robbie Richards, the founder of the SEO Playbook. Before we get started, I want to say hi to everyone in chat. Shar, Nesto, Andrew, Bev, Skylar, Alexandre, Shar, so many of you all out there. And what's up to everyone to SIA, IMG, the super secret SEO chat, the blueprint training. Thanks, Kyler, for the invite. Shout out to Live Streaming Pros who got me started in live streaming. I was waiting to hit 1K before I rocked my official streamer hoodie. Be sure to hit the link, visit the link in the ticker to get your free SEO tee. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Now let's get on with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Where is the best place to hide a dead body? Page 2 of Google.
There was a Google Core update. Oh no, what should we do? What you should do is at least get communication. Have your communication set. Don't rush into theories and change things. Observe and share your learnings. Evaluate the best plan forward to all your clients and with the companies you work for. So don't jump into conclusions. Wait a couple weeks before you change anything, and just be sure to communicate it, because you don't want to get a big drop in your traffic and someone comes to you and says, what happened? So let them know ahead of time. Anchor text and interlinking seem to be a hot topic this week. Let's listen into a conversation at Google Search Central Hangout on how Google looks at anchor text when ranking.
What we try to look at is the specific anchor text there. So if it's something where when we look at it, it looks like, oh, it's promoting this website in a way that it uses very keyword-rich anchor text, then that would be more problematic. If it's essentially just linking to the URL, or if it's using the business name as something that is linking to the website name, then usually that's less of an issue. I mean, do you assign more value to those 2 words when you compare it to anchor text that has like 7 or 8 words? For example, 2 words anchor text like cheap shoes, and the 7 words anchor text is you can buy cheap shoes here. Can you elaborate on that? So I don't think we do anything special for the length of the words in the anchor text, but rather we use this anchor text as a way to provide extra context for the individual pages. And sometimes if you have a longer anchor text, that gives us a little bit more information. Sometimes it's kind of like just a collection of different keywords.
To follow up on the conversation on anchor text, Kyle Roof at the SEO Mastery Summit this past week explains what anchor text you should use.
Well, the point I was making on interlinking is that the one thing you control entirely is your own site, and you can use your own site to give yourself boosts, through passing rank and relevance. So I think probably the worst thing you could do is a click here on your own site in terms of your anchor text as you're sending somebody from one part of your site to the other. I think you can use semantically related terms to pass relevance and pass juice that can be valuable. For what it's worth, John Mueller just talked about that Google prefers longer anchor text that gives more contextual value, that tells people where they're going, what's going on, what's going to happen when they click there, because it's a stronger signal for them, or a signal that they can understand. So take advantage of it on your own site. And I would say it's probably even more valuable for non-English markets. On-page does so much better in non-English speaking markets than in English speaking markets. So I think if you can take advantage of it even more so in a non-English language, I think you're in a great spot.
It was also brought up in the SEO Conspiracy Show with Bill Slawski. Let's listen in.
What link makes sense between two pages?
When you're writing something, search for it on your website. Search for what might be related. Understand your website and take advantage of it. Understand those connections as you're writing something new. Because if you can work them together, build those connections.
A quick hack to find these keywords on your site. So do a site, your domain, and keyword phrase. And that way you can link back to the page and that you're currently trying to pass rank and pass juice to. I mean, you don't have to remember all this. You can just go ahead and do a quick search like that within Google. Chrome DevTools received an update this to help check core web vitals, which will be, in fact, in May 2021. Let's listen in.
The performance panel has a couple of updates. After recording your load performance, the performance panel now shows total blocking time, TBT information in the footer. TBT is a load performance metric that helps quantify how long it takes a page to become usable. TBT is the main lab metric for approximating first input delay, FID, which is one of Google's new Core Web Vitals. Core Web Vitals is an initiative to provide quality signals to help you deliver great user experiences on the web. Check out web.dev/vitals to find out more. The new experience section of the performance panel can help you detect layout shifts. Cumulative layout shifts, CLS, is another Core Web Vitals metric that can help you quantify unwanted visual instability. Click a layout shift event to see the details of the layout shift in the Summary tab. Hover over the Move From and Move To fields to visualize where the layout shift occurred.
To talk a little more about Core Web Vitals, Ted Kubitis at the SEO Mastery Summit touches a little bit on this. Let's check it out.
So the CLS stands for Cumulative Layout Shift, and that's when you open up a web page and things start moving around the page as they load and render, and you see the content slide down below the fold. That's that layout shift. LCP is the largest contentful paint, and it's talking about trying to identify what the main content is, how big is it, how well does it render. Probably with the largest contentful paint, the thing that could get a lot of people is the GDPR pop-ups. So those little things saying, do you allow our policies and accept cookies, that pop up on everybody's website, especially on mobile. The way that factor works is it's looking for the largest block of text that's got the highest Z index on the page, and then it's going to measure that. And if you're floating a div with the GDPR policy, that's going to be your main content for that algorithm. That's a big problem. That's going to catch a lot of people off guard. So,
yeah, that's interesting, an insight on the GDPR pop-ups, because in the enterprise world, we have those all over our EMEA websites. You know, that's going to be pretty... Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. All right, let me actually patch you in. Hold on.
Hey Dre, how you doing? It's Dixon here. Thanks for having me on the show the other day, and I thought I'd just jump in and say I've got this new stuff that we came out with today, which you might be interested in, which is topic analysis and topic charts. So in our audits here, we've now got the ability to analyze the top 10 results for any keyword, key phrase, and find things. But we can then compare your data against everybody else's and see what topics are missing. So you can dive in here and sit there and say, well, this is for the concept of topic maps for SEO, and we can see what the competitors are all talking about, and that's great. And so you can go down the marketing and advertising category, for example, and see that they're talking about web pages and websites and hyperlinks and goodness knows what. But then the missing here is a whole load of topics that I should probably be talking about if I wanted to really do well for the phrase, for the idea of topic mapping. And so I'm not talking about page rank, for example, or link strategies and stuff. And it's kind of like shows you which ones you need. And then you can just dive in there and say, well, okay, I don't really understand. What do we mean by domain name? Why is that important? What do we need to talk about? And we can dive in, and it'll bring in the Wikipedia article. And then you can, from there, just say, well, okay, do I need to talk about domain names when it comes about topic mapping for SEO? Well, maybe I do. Or I can choose some individual ideas and stuff. So the topic maps for SEO chart is what came out on inlinks.net. If anyone wants to try it, just dive in. There's a free account for everyone to have. So that's it, kind of everything. So everything I have, really. So back to you, Dre. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Dixon, thanks for coming by. I mean, that was pretty cool. Hey, everyone, Inlinks is free. Check it, so definitely check it out. John over at Ignite Visibility gives us 5 ways to instantly improve Google SEO indexing. Let's check it out.
Okay, so what's the first way to get into the index? Well, it's links. So any page that links from one page to another page inside of the internet will allow Google to crawl a page, go to the other page, and then it will pick up the other page and get that into the index. Item number 2, a sitemap. What a lot of people don't realize is that sitemaps are really, really powerful. Item number 3, social media shares. Social media shares are incredibly powerful for getting pages indexed on the internet. So that's why you see large news sites have pages jump up so quickly, because they get tons and tons of shares. Item number 4 fetches Google. Now, item number 4 and item number 5 are actually kind of the same, because fetches Google is done through the URL inspection tool inside of Google Search Console. So with Google Search Console, you can inspect the URL, and then you can fetch that URL, and you can submit that URL. That allows you to get pages picked up inside of the index inside of Google quickly, and if you have an individual page, you can get it picked up almost right away, usually within a couple hours of submitting.
Number 4 and 5 are actually on hold right now. A few weeks ago, Google turned this feature off and gave no specific date when it'll return. Another clip from Ted at the SEO Mastery Summit, he discusses what type of content stays indexed.
Is all of our small test pages tend to have a lot of difficulty staying indexed. They get into Google, we'd put like 400 or 500 into Google, and then we'd see about 60% fall out of the indexes. And so that de-indexing was really problematic to us. When we started using big pages, there's a lot more stable indexing. They got in the index and they stayed in the index.
Long form content does some other good things, so think about that. It's shorter content may not stay in the index. When starting your SEO agency, you need to create SOPs. Sam from Ahrefs tells us a little more.
SOPs are detailed documents that explain how to carry out a task from start to finish. And when I say detailed, I mean detailed. Don't assume that people you hire know your expectations. Outline every last detail to the point of visualization. Now, in order to create SOPs in such detail, you need to learn and document the steps for each process. Meaning, it's worth being in the trenches so you can gain experience and optimize the process so your team can work efficiently and cohesively. First, if someone quits, disappears without notice, or you let them go, SOPs make it super easy to hire and onboard new help. Second, if someone hasn't done the work for a while, i.e., they took a vacation or you had them working on different tasks, they'll have a guide to reference to get back on track fast. Third, it allows them to get tasks done faster. Since you've already gone through the process, you should have documented everything in the most efficient way possible. And having SOPs allows you to refine your processes. Fourth, it saves you time from answering the same questions over and over again. Or even better, it prevents people from deviating from a system that works. And fifth, it allows you to eventually remove yourself from the process so you can drink from those coconuts on the beach or whatever you want to do.
I found myself in this situation about a year ago when I started consulting as a side hustle. And when I was lost, I was very lost until I found my guest today. He knows all about processes very, very well. Now on to the favorite part of my show where I get to introduce my guest. I encourage you to ask questions in the chat during our conversation. Asking questions is the best way for us all to learn and master the art of SEO. So let me go ahead and get this started here. All right. Robbie is the founder of the SEO Playbook training program and co-founder of Vireo, a B2B search marketing agency. He has helped dozens of SaaS companies such as Spodio, SnapApp, Zflow, Pleister, Jitbit, Lexshares drive more qualified traffic and leads. His content is read by over 30,000 people every month and has been featured on publications such as Forbes, Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, Moz, SEMrush, Ahrefs, WordStream, and more. He lives and breathes SEO. He's a Division I collegiate golfer, academic, all-American, world traveler. Please welcome Robbie Richards. Robbie, my man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Dre. Thanks for having me. I love the production quality.
Thank you. Okay, all right. So you are one of my SEO teachers. You like I said, I was lost a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when I first started to get into the consulting game. I didn't know where to start. I was like, I know how to do SEO, but how do I get started? And I came across your course, and which is exactly what I needed. So what actually got you to develop this course on processes and getting things developed like that?
Yeah, really the biggest thing for me was, working in an agency where we had a small subset of clients to start with. And then as we started to grow, kind of like with Sam O's comments back there, with scaling and working with a larger subset of clients, we were quickly being bogged down. And so, I made a conscious decision, like, how do I go and create processes in order to help us streamline operations, essentially, so that we could deliver quality work to more clients faster. And I'd already been doing a lot of this back-end work for my own sites that I have, because I have a small team that I work on those with too, and really just trying to dial in and figure out, how do we more efficiently work through different tasks for those projects too. And so the net result of that was the course ultimately, as I wanted to, open up those processes and help other people. And the course is geared more towards intermediate to advanced SEOs. It's not very beginner level. You definitely have to have the foundational stuff, but it's all about, once you do have that foundational knowledge, how do you take it, apply it, and ultimately work faster and get results faster, whether that's for clients, in-house SEO, or even if you're working on affiliate sites, whatever that may be.
Yeah, they're really, really extensive. How long does it take something to put together like that? You have actually 3 different playbooks within your academy.
Yeah, it does take a long time because I'm running an agency full time during the day, and so for my course playbooks, I'm working on those pretty much just in the evenings and on weekends. So it is hard. It takes a lot of time, and getting up early on weekends and putting in a few extra hours late at night to try and get through them. So yeah, it's a balancing act for sure.
Oh man, so when you guys read that in your bio where you live and breathe SEO, you're living and breathing SEO for real. That's I guess I'm sort of a left brain person too. I really like structure, process, planning. So I don't know, it's kind of nerdy to say, but I do enjoy the documentation side of thing. The thing that actually has been the hardest for me, and that's why I appreciate so much with your YouTube videos here, is just the production quality. Like for me, creating videos, editing, scripting, doing all that, it takes me so much time. So I really appreciate what you're doing here. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. It's something where I get to learn and talk to experts like yourself, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So it's hey, why not learn and master the art of SEO while having fun, right? So I want to take it back even further back. Like, how did you get into SEO? Like, was SEO something that you were just right out of college or something that you started doing? Were you doing it in college? Tell me your story, your backstory of like how you got into SEO.
Yeah, probably a little bit of an unconventional into the SEO world, I guess. So growing up, I'm obviously originally from Australia. Golf was really a huge part of my life all through my teen years, and I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to go over to the US on a golf scholarship and play at Boise State University. So, got to travel all around the US and, live that dream essentially. It was a lot of fun. And in my final year of college, I got an internship at a really large agency in Boise there. And, they worked with a lot of Fortune 500 brands. And so I did an internship for about 6 months, had nothing to do with SEO at all. It was really just email marketing, a bit of analytics, some social media, like just kind of dipping the toes in a lot of different areas. But one of the teams that I was on, there was a guy there who was into SEO. And so, I heard him talk about things here and there, and it piqued my interest a little bit, but I never really had the chance to get hands on. And then after I finished that internship, I was lucky enough to get offered a full-time position, but it was in their CRM program, and I was running an email marketing campaign for a client for about 12 months. And again, like I did nothing with SEO. And so at the end of that 12 months, it was right at the end of the kind of financial crisis, and they had lost some clients. And unfortunately, one of the clients was a big project I was working on. So I was one of a bunch of people who got let go. So I lost my job there. And then again, going back to golf, one of the guys I played with in college, he was playing professionally, or he still is, but so he offered for me to go out and caddy with him on the PGA Tour. So I did that for 6 months, traveled around to 20 odd states. And nice. Then, it was a bit of a grind. I came back into town. Long story short, I ended up reconnecting with a guy who used to work at the agency I was at as well, but he was a software developer, and he'd built this mobile food ordering app. And he was like, hey, help me market this thing just part-time. And so he started doing that. And then through that process, we started getting some local businesses to start with, wanting help building websites and then ranking in the local market there. And so we started taking on a few clients, and it got to the point where we had enough work he could actually bring me on full time. And then it's just sort of grown from there. We started working with local clients, and then we moved into like the healthcare niche, and then we tried to work with real estate companies. And then over the last, I would say probably 2 years now, we have been working primarily or almost exclusively now with B2B SaaS companies. That's our little niche that we're really enjoying. And yeah, that's kind of a long story cut short.
So I mean,
but,
like then how'd you learn to do like SEO? Like what were you like? Where you go to certain sites? Did you go have someone that you actually were following? Like how would you actually get your hands on into SEO?
Yeah. So the first thing that I did actually when I first started working, it's kind of bad to say, but I took on my first local search client when I barely even knew what SEO was. But it was a friend of the guy I was working with, and he let us take that on and just sort of learn as we go. So through that process though, like, I like to try and learn things as quickly as possible. So I thought the fastest way to learn is to go and either work with someone or be mentored by someone. So I connected with a guy who owned a pretty successful local search agency there in Boise, and basically would meet with him for coffee. We even paid him to go through some client audits with me, and I just tried to learn everything that I could as quickly as possible from him. And that was how I got started. And then in addition to that, I started reading all the major industry publications and things as well, like, your Moz and your Search Engine Lands and, tons of blogs, basically devouring everything I could. And then really the next step that I took was, okay, I'm learning all this stuff. I've only got really 1 or 2 clients here that I'm able to test it on. So I started creating my own sites. And one of those was my blog, robbieriches.com. And that's ultimately where I just started testing different strategies and tactics as well. A lot of which, I'm sharing through my course now. And that's kind of how I got going. And that's how I think a lot of people should too. Like, find someone who's already been successful at what you're trying to do. And then the second step is to just create your own site, or start something to where you can test and apply, and then take what you learn and transfer that to client work or whatever you're doing. So
there you go. Make sure, just do it. Just do it, right, Robbie? So, I mean, okay, let's take it back a little. Like, I want to talk about when you're in the agency, like, just say, like, right now we have the huge, big Google update. What's your procedure to, like, talking to your clients about this Google update? Do you actually tell them about it, like, prior when you hear about it, or after, or do you wait and just hope that? What's your process when a Google update happens?
Yeah. So the first thing that I do is I'll tell our clients that it's come out. Try to keep an eye on that, and I tell them basically as soon as I find out. And then try to also set an expectation that, there may be some big jumps, there may be some downward movement. Like, you never really know, right, with this stuff. But I generally say, like, just don't panic, right? Like, we're doing things, cleanly, or whatever you want to say, white hat, however you describe that. But we are, like, we're approaching things how I think in the right way. So it's like, let the dust settle for 2 or 3 weeks, and if reassess after that. Like, don't really jump in and try and be really reactive right out of the gate. And we've been fortunate to where, generally it's a nice positive. We actually get pretty excited when these things come out. So, it's, just not to panic, and let them know as quickly as possible.
Excellent!
All right, let's see here. I actually found this one quote online, and it's by Robert Kiyosaki. Failure defeats losers. Failure inspires winners. Robert Kiyosaki. This is a quote that I found that you actually is one of your favorite quotes. What does this quote mean to you?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to just a little bit like what we talked about a minute ago, where especially when you're, I guess always, but especially when you're starting out and you're trying to learn or get in, whether you're trying to get into SEO or whatever other path that is, the things you're going to try or test, most of them are going to fail. But you're going to find little bits and pieces along the way that are going to make a big improvement to an existing process or workflow, or even add something new to your tool belt. So it's just approaching things with the mindset that, fail fast, I think, is a popular saying too. But don't be scared to try things. And someone who I've followed for a long time and have a lot of respect for is Noah Kagan over at Sumo. And, I've had the chance to go to his conference a couple of times, and I think he wrote somewhere that 86%, he's got some like very precise number of experiments and things that he tries in his businesses fail. And, he's been super successful in what he's done, but he's also had a lot of failures. And, it just comes back to that. Don't be scared to fail, because if you don't try stuff, like, nothing's ever going to happen anyway. So you might as well fail 9 times out of 10 and get a winner than do nothing at all. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one guy I actually also follow his podcast and everything. He actually just started doing more of his YouTube channel. And that's right. I mean, like from that experience, like what would you say is one of your big failures that you experienced that you probably learned from?
Oh, big fail. I don't know if I've had like a massive failure, but I've tried a lot of things, especially on personal projects. I have an affiliate site that I invested a lot of time and resources into building out content around a little while ago, and it really didn't generate any returns. So that's one. It can be pretty deflating, I guess, not only from the money that you invest into things, but also, like, as like just to create any sort of quality content, especially at scale, it just takes a ton of time. And but through that process, I did learn quite a lot, and more specifically around the types of content that I can monetize faster. But unfortunately, I had to create a lot of content that I couldn't monetize in order to figure that out. So, yeah.
Are you still doing affiliate stuff, or is it kind of more of like you're more focused on the course, or is there still some affiliate stuff that you're doing? Because I saw like in your YouTube, you started doing a lot more affiliates. Like maybe like 5-6 years ago, a lot of your videos were tutorials and how to with using certain products.
Yeah, I've gone away from like pure affiliate sites now. I do some affiliate marketing through my blog, my personal blog, but at a very small scale in terms of the number of products. Like I have a pretty hard rule especially on my personal site where I only really promote products as an affiliate that I personally use. So, there's only a handful there, but I do a little bit with that. But the core focus now has definitely been agency by day, and now back really investing some time into my course in the evenings and weekends, because I'm planning to release another section to that, hopefully early next year. So that's taken a lot of my. I wish I could clone myself. Then I'd focus more on affiliate stuff.
I mean, so with your agency, are you by yourself? Do you got some employees? Are you still, or do you still create your processes for like people that you've have working for you, or how's that your agency structured right now?
Yeah, so we're actually by design a pretty lean team. At the moment, I think we have 16 or 17 clients, but we're able to do it there's just 2 full-time people, me and one other guy who's still back in the US. I'm living in Australia now.
Oh, okay.
And then we do have a team of contractors across different areas that we use. And we can kind of scale up and down those resources based on workload and our needs that way. So we really like it this way because, we work with the types of companies that we want to. We have pretty much a nice streamlined workflow that consistently gets results. And so, we're able to have pretty good profit margins on our projects now too. So that's more important to us than having like 50 or 100 clients and 20 people on our team. I really don't have any desire to manage that type of team. I like to be kind of lean and mean, so to speak.
Oh yeah. I'm all with that. That's being lean is great, because I mean it's better that way. I mean, also with I want to go into your B2B clients, because I mean why do you think it, because I'm in that space. I've been in B2B SaaS for like all my career as an SEO, and what do you find different between B2B SaaS and maybe like another company, like say even not necessarily a local company, but with why B2B SaaS? Why is it became your niche? What was it about it?
Yeah, I think that there's a few things there. The first one was really, I think, the mindset of people at B2B SaaS companies, or SaaS companies in general, really, right? Kind of that entrepreneurial spirit, for one. They're really excited about what they're doing. Not that other businesses aren't, but the big thing, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of the mindset. There you go. Is they view SEO as an investment. So they know that maybe it's not going to be 3 or even 6 months. They're going to be, generating loads of organic traffic, but 9-12 months down the road, they're going to have this, essentially a passive channel built up that's going to be consistently driving, like whether that's free trial signups, demos, walkthrough requests, whatever that is. So they're just more willing to invest in SEO, and it's not viewed as like this cost center essentially, which is what we've kind of encountered like in local search, or, even like e-commerce companies to a certain extent. I haven't done a lot in e-commerce, so that's probably not a fair assessment, but just other industries we've worked in and types of companies. So it's that SEO as an investment. They generally have bigger budgets too, because usually the SaaS companies we work with have had some sort of series funding round, and they're looking to scale. So we're coming in to companies generally where they already have at least a few internal marketing resources, and they're looking for, an expert direction, right, on where to take their SEO strategy. And so that's also fun because we can essentially point the cannon in the direction, and then they can put resources behind it, and we can get results a lot faster. So that makes it more exciting as well, I think. And just third, generally, I don't know, they just seem fun to work with. Like the people, like usually they're CMOs, VPs, or directors of marketing, and they're just pumped and excited about what they're doing. So, and it just makes it more fun. So I don't know, that's sort of why we've enjoyed it. And then one other thing too is kind of back to the process point. By working in that little area, even though there are subtle differences, the processes and systems you have in place to get results, like how you go after keywords, for example, the top, mid, and bottom of the funnel, like the same modifiers and things that you use are consistent no matter what type of business you're really working with. So you're able just to scale a lot faster. So
do you actually ever come into like any roadblocks for maybe some things where it's like to get red tape because it isn't like maybe an enterprise or B2B SaaS company and there may be a set of approvals? Do you ever come across that? Like and if you did, like how did you work around that? Like, okay, if you can't do this, what did you have to convince them? Did you do something else instead?
Yeah, so I would say overall we haven't actually ran into that a ton. I think primarily because we haven't really worked with like those massive enterprise level companies. It's been more sort of mid-size, sort of smaller startup to mid-size, kind of in that growth stage, I guess, rather than the larger sort of established enterprise level. But we have run into that in some cases, where there's generally the biggest issue is there's like 5 people who have input on like whatever you're trying to do, or it has to go through 2 or 3 approval stages and things like that. So, you kind of got to go with what they want internally, but we always try to bring it back and have a call with the client if it's becoming like a real bottleneck and say, hey, like, we respect the fact that you need input from all these stakeholders in your organization, but we need to like level set on expectations here. Like if you're wanting to hit this goal within this time frame, we're not moving faster. So you either need to just know that, and we're probably not going to hit your goals if we have to go through this every single time. If you're fine with that, cool, we'll keep doing what we're doing. But if you want to hit those goals, then we need to figure out a way to either remove some people from it, or how do we get straight to the final decision maker or approver on what we're doing? Or are there not enough internal resources behind what we're trying to do here? Do we need to up the budget so we can take on more of this? Like just being upfront and candid. And that generally goes down really well with our clients because, I think it helps build trust with what you're trying to do. So, I guess this is more just having those upfront conversations right when you notice that there are bottlenecks occurring. So
being upfront and honest, guys, you'll get stuff done. All right, Robbie, I wanted to talk about some of the pieces of news that was pretty hot this week, and it was all about like anchor text and interlinking. And do you have like a certain like anchor text strategy that you do with yours, and like maybe like is there any ratios that you actually pay attention to, or what's your kind of like anchor link strategy?
Yeah, so specifically for internal or
but we
for
can
both?
do both. Yeah, both.
Okay. Internal links, I tend to be very aggressive with my anchor text on internal linking. I think I was watching another one of your videos where Kyle Roof was mentioning about the relevancy signals, and if you have an internal link, don't put click here on it.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many variables that you have direct control over, and internal linking is definitely one of those. And so we try to maybe not exact match keywords through all of our internal anchors, but let's just say, we've identified 10, relevant internal linking opportunities. Pretty much all of those are going to be exact, partial, or some sort of semantic key phrase basically on that. There won't be any generics. So yeah, we definitely get aggressive with that because we want to send those stronger relevancy signals. And to that point too, at least with our clients, like we've had some cases where a client's come to us and they've been stuck on the bottom of page 1. And we actually just had this with a client that we took on, and all we did was we de-optimized a few title tags and built like 10 or 15 internal links from across their site to their main product page that had been struggling to rank. And it was in position 2, like, I don't know, it was like days. It was crazy. And so internal links can still have a big impact, especially if, a lot of companies out there, it blows my mind. They're doing none of it. Or it's very non-strategic. So yeah, definitely get aggressive with the internals. But I definitely try to be fairly conservative on the from backlink anchor text for sure. I think we've all read and heard about some sort of horror story with over-optimizing anchor text. I don't really follow a set percentage, so to speak. It kind of just depends on the amount of backlinks we're building, what kind of tier sites that they're coming from. But like, let's just say using 10 backlinks as an example again, we might try and make one of those an exact match. But then we're definitely going to mix in like equal parts generic, maybe a naked URL, branded links, maybe 1 or 2 semantics like that. So that's just kind of a real rough gauge, but definitely conservative on that front.
Nice. Aggressive internal, a little less aggressive external. So I'm curious.
Much less aggressive.
Like, when you said de-optimize, what is de-optimize, and what did you do to de-optimize the title?
Yeah. So what we found was, so this site was not a huge site, but it was decent. It's probably close to 1,000 pages, I would say. And they had dozens of industry, solution, feature pages where they were all optimized to some degree for the main keyword they were trying to rank their platform page for. And so it just wasn't necessary. So what we did by de-optimizing is in a lot of cases where we actually just removed that keyword from the title tag completely, or we moved it to the back end of the title tag, just to take the emphasis off that keyword and make sure that that primary platform page, again, just sending another signal, like, the jury's out on how much of an impact, keywords at the front, middle, back of title tags, or whatever that is. But, again, it's something you can control. So putting that front and center, and removing the weighting on all of those other pages, because that same keyword was at the front of the title of like dozens of other pages. So by removing it or moving it to the back, we're essentially telling Google this platform page over here is the one. So yeah, nothing crazy, just little tweaks. It was pretty crazy to see how much it impacted things.
Yeah, from bottom of the page to number 2, that's huge. Okay, I have one more question, and if anyone in chat has any questions, go ahead and ask it in chat. So when I ask this one question, is like one thing that I found very, very clever, and I've never seen this before until I've actually seen your videos, and it was the subfolder analysis strategy. And this is like the way of finding like keywords, and like, how did you come up with that? Like, can you like describe this for the audience so that if they don't know what the subfolder analysis strategy is about?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess to answer your first question, it came out of just, again, one of those things, maybe not failing in keyword research, but failing to be efficient and trying to scale keyword research across a lot of different websites and business types. How do we quickly find the most valuable keywords, right? Because, with enough time and research, you can find keywords for any business really, but are they the right type? So the way that I try to think of it is you should really be aligning your keyword research process with your site monetization strategy, right? Nothing groundbreaking there, but that can really differ depending on the type of site you're working on. So if you're working on a site that monetizes primarily through like AdSense revenue, where you're trying to get more eyeballs on ads, you're going to go after much higher volume keywords so you can, drive more traffic and get more impressions and clicks. But compared to, say, an affiliate site where maybe the volume isn't as important, but you want more of that investigational mid-funnel intent behind your queries, because you want to ultimately be the last touch point before someone makes a purchase so you can get the commission. So that's going to dictate a different approach to keyword research. And then, for example, like SaaS, even SaaS industry, right? Like we want to be prioritizing similarly like mid-bottom funnel terms, whether that's looking for alternatives or software comparisons, feature page terms, solutions, and then all the way down to e-commerce to where, you know, you're looking for direct buyer intent keywords. So there's all these different ways you can approach it depending on your site monetization strategy. But I feel like a lot of people approach just with this blanket where they just look for the highest volume keywords, or they know they need to find certain intent keywords, but they still just look at everything anyway. Yep. So the concept behind subfolder analysis is, how do we really quickly pinpoint the most valuable terms with the not only the highest search volume, but the highest traffic potential on a site. And so that's where that comes in, and it's looking for patterns on a website where you can quickly unearth those. So an example of that would be, you know, I created a video a while back on looking at Wirecutter. They're acquired by the New York Times, but they have had this subfolder on their site that with called reviews, and in that's where they wrote all their like best of type content. Now, obviously, these guys have thousands and thousands of pages, or even millions, I'm not sure. But what you can do in a tool, whether it's SEMrush or Ahrefs or pretty much any SEO platform is going to allow you to do this, is you can go in and you can just search by the subfolder reviews. And then for a site like Wirecutter that writes on a lot of different industries, let's say you've got a coffee affiliate site, right? You might look in the reviews subfolder and then layer on another filter to say the keywords in this subfolder need to contain the modifier coffee or grinder or something like that. So now you can quickly filter out all of the investigational terms where people are looking for the best products for something that are related specifically to coffee. And now you've gone from like millions of keywords to maybe hundreds or thousands, and you've got a lot of high value terms. In the SaaS space, what we tend to do is we look first at competitor subfolders like features, platform, product, industries, anything where people are looking for those kind of higher intent terms. That's where we'll start the keyword research process there. And then like another one too is if you got an e-commerce competitor, right? An example I gave, I think in that video, was Beard Brand. They're an e-commerce store that sells beard products. So they house all of their products inside, conveniently, a products subfolder. So, you know, they have hundreds and hundreds of blog posts and all this other content, but we can really quickly just look at that subfolder and find all of those higher intent terms that way. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways you can approach it, but it's really looking at someone's site. I usually just start with the main navigation, or even looking in the footer links, and just hovering over and seeing, are there any common subfolder paths that are housing content that have high intent? And that's what I'll plug into any of those tools, and I'll start analyzing there. And then basically just moving your way up or down the funnel, again, depending on what your site monetization strategy is. So I hope I capture that right.
Yeah.
But that's the general gist.
That's a huge knowledge bomb right there. I mean, you really cut down the time of even keyword research by doing that, right? Because you can go straight to that and just by looking at your competitors. You save so much time. I mean, I thought that was so clever. I'm definitely going to be using that strategy going forward. It's the only way. It's the only way it should be. I mean, because you can even do intent that way too, right? Because you get on the buyer intent. And so we got actually we got a couple questions. We got, let me see here. We have, well, one person, we have Robbie wants to talk about Google rich snippet guidelines, or Google. I know you actually were doing a lot of, some featured snippets optimization, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's really the probably the main one that in terms of snippets that I've been trying to optimize for as well. We've been doing more FAQ schema work as well for some of our clients. But I think it was another video. I watched a few of these episodes. I think might have been Matthew Woodward's one.
Oh yeah,
he had a little bit to say about featured snippets. I think he made a really good point where, you know, I've read a lot of content about how to win featured snippets and things, and I really liked his comment about the power of observation, because ultimately that's what it comes down to, right? I think if you look at the studies, almost 100% of featured snippets come from first page results, and the large majority of those come from the top 3 positions. So what I like to do when I'm looking for featured snippet opportunities is to quickly identify the keywords that I'm ranking in the top 3 positions for inside a tool. I use SEMrush for this, but I have a video on my YouTube channel as well that goes into this process actually. But top 3 positions, and then you can quickly filter out all the keywords that has a featured snippet that you don't currently own. So those are your lowest hanging fruit opportunities. And again, it's just trying to be efficient and pinpoint the areas where you can get the quickest gains. And, you know, you might only come out with a couple, but, you know, for larger sites, you could come out with dozens of featured snippet opportunities. And then it's really just looking at what has the snippet, and specifically what type of snippet is it, right? Because that is going to give you a good directional cue into how you need to structure your content or change it. So is it a paragraph snippet? If so, where is the positioning of that paragraph in the content? How are they leading in? Usually it's going to be some sort of like, what is query, right? Like X is Y. Like, how do they structure that statement? And how are you doing it? Is it a numbered or an unordered list? Is it a video snippet? Like, just looking at those and basically modeling whatever they're doing to get it. If you do the same thing, and you're already ranking in the top 3 positions, there's a high likelihood that you can steal that away. So that's one thing.
Nice. Thank you. And thank you for watching your previous episodes. That means a lot to me. Okay, I want to know, I asked this to all my SEO professionals. I wanted to ask you, like, if someone wants to get into SEO, what is that one thing or a piece of advice you can tell them to, like, get into the SEO industry?
Yeah, for sure. I would say a few different things thinking about it. So like the SEO industry, I guess thinking long and hard about how do you want to enter the SEO industry? Because this is really going to set up the rest of it ultimately, how you approach it. And you may not know, and that's fine. Skip to step 2 in just a second. But if you do know, like maybe you want to get into it as an affiliate SEO, like a lot of people do that, right? Like they have a lot of subject matter expertise. I actually had a conversation with a guy a couple of weeks ago, and he used to be a tradesman, a carpenter, and he actually started a website because he was getting a lot of leads through it. And he wanted to learn how to get more. So he got into SEO and ended up going and creating a bunch of lead gen sites in other trade areas, but kind of a side story. So how do you want to, how do you want to enter? Is it like affiliate SEO? Do you want to be an in-house SEO? Do you want to like be agency? Like there's a lot of different ways you can approach it. And then if you answer that, you can, going into the next step makes it a little bit easier, again, to be more focused. And that's kind of like what I touched on earlier, where find someone who's crushing it, doing what you're trying to do, right? So in the case of like affiliate SEO, right? When I was first actually getting into affiliate SEO, I watched a lot of Matt Woodward stuff, actually. A lot of the content he read, and just devouring how he was approaching that. But I also connected with Gail Breton over at Authority Hacker. And so I've known him for years, and just finding people who are doing really well at what you want to do, I think is a great way, kind of like how I did with the local search guy back in Boise 8 years or so ago. I used to buy him coffee and just meet up and pick his brain, right? And it gets you excited too, because they're successful and you can see, and then really quickly too, you're going to realize, yeah, they're smart people, but there's no reason I can't do that if I just stick at this. And it gets you kind of excited and hungry to keep going. So that's something, definitely find a mentor. And then this is probably going to have been said by, I would say, probably most of the people you ask this question, but start some sort of web property and get going, because you may not have a lot of clients to start with, or have, go straight into an agency setting where you can touch a lot of projects. So just create something of your own, and start testing and applying. And then as you start to see things working, again, you're going to get excited, and it's going to motivate you. So in addition to obviously learning a lot along the way. So that's what I would say, like, what's your direction? Sorry, I think my dog's going to bark in the background there. But yeah, what's your direction into the industry? Find a mentor, create a website, and just start doing.
Thank you, Robbie, for coming on board for this episode. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you? Where can they find you? What's the best place that someone can get a hold of you?
Yeah, my blog, robbierichards.com, is probably the best place. It's where I'm blogging a lot about SEO, case studies and tutorials. I also have a YouTube channel of my own. Every now and then I publish tutorials, some of the things we touched on here in this video. I got a few over there. And then LinkedIn is probably the best social media channel. Like, if people want to connect and talk shop over there, I would love to do so.
Well, how about your Twitter? You have a Twitter account? You have a Twitter
account. Yeah, you can reach out to me there too, for sure. Can't even remember what my handle is. I think it's Robbie Rich MKTG, I think is the one.
That's what it is.
But, yeah, I check in on that one every now and then, but I definitely have been enjoying LinkedIn a lot more.
Right.
I think there's some good conversations happening over there. And but my website's the best spot for sure. Just shoot me a message through contact form, or happy to help out.
Sweet. Love it. Can you hold on just 1 second when I sign off? Thank you again, Robbie. It was a pleasure for you being my guest today. And, thank you for watching even some previous episodes. I totally appreciate it. So cool. Okay, hold on real quick. Let me see here. All right, guys, that concludes this week's episode of the SEO Video Show. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to visit seo.video/1K to receive your free SEO Video Show tee for celebrating my 1,000 subscribers. Until next time, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And I will talk to you next week.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, because the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO video show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre DeVera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!